Heavy metal
My
rock.
global mind.
Question the silence. I came here for you. I'll see it with you. I wanna feel your essence. Addicted to your senses.
Okay, so first, I want you to go into kind of the history of Edge of Paradise. This, like we were talking about earlier, your band's been around a minute, but this new record, we'll talk about it. I've been listening to it all week. It's really great. I think this is probably your best album to date.
Thank you.
I'm going to say that. So when it comes out, we'll get into some of the songs here in a minute, but take us back to some of the fans that haven't been around as long as some of us have. How you got the band started, and take us from there because it's been a minute. This is your band's been in the works for a long time now.
Yeah. So, well, Dave and I started it, I guess, in 2011, 2012. But, lately I've been saying that the band, as people kind of starting to know it these days, that version kind of started in 2017 when we put out our EP Alive, and then really started with Universe because that album kind of set us on that path to where we are today, because that's kind of when the concept started, the storyline. Because a lot of these albums, there is a concept behind them and a story. I mean, you can kind of listen to each song on its own, but if you read into it, and especially these days, like I put out a graphic novel to the last album, Hologram, and there's art to go with the songs, and there's like a whole story with the music videos as well. So this version kind of started to come together since 2017. But before that, Dave and I, we were trying to figure out what we wanted our sound to be, because, and it's not like we actively were like, okay, we want to be this, this, and that. I think it was years of evolution because we come from such different backgrounds. So we had to kind of learn how to write together, how to merge our different styles, and get on a path where we want to go, basically. And I think the difference is with this album also is because for the first time we have another guitar player, Doug Wayand, where he came in as a second lead, where he brought in an eighth string, and it gave Dave a whole different place for him to work with his guitar layers and ideas. So it's almost like they really merged two distinct parts together. So that was really cool to see.
Right, and you're
Um,
talking about Dave Bates, the your guitar player. So is his background more metal as opposed to yours? Because you've been playing the piano for a long time since you were a child, right?
Yeah, yeah. So he is definitely metal rock. I mean, his influences are, Steve Vai, Eddie Van Halen, Black Sabbath, Iron Maiden. And I love all of that now, but when I met Dave, I didn't know I knew
Right.
that existed. My first introduction, to, well, I love Dio, and Dave introduced me to Dio. So that kind of became my inspiration as a singer. But the closest thing, in college, I started, I don't even know how I came across, but Symphony X. I heard their songs and I was like, what is that? Because they have crazy keyboard solos. So that was like, drew my attention because I played piano. I was like, wow, that's really cool. And it was extra cool because we got to tour with them. So it was kind of like a full circle moment for me. But yeah, I mean, well, my parents loved like Led Zeppelin and my mom loved Queen, but um, I never really listened to that because I was so into the classical world and then, musical theater. So that was my thing. Ballet, like the furthest thing from metal.
Yeah, well, that's that. So Symphony X, that's another great band. That's one of my favorite bands
Mhm.
too. That's cool that I forgot that you guys tour with them. What a great experience to get. You coming in from a different world of music, and
Mhm.
and you go on the road with guys like that. I mean, those guys are great players. I mean, the guitar player Michael Romeo is a great guitar player. The singer is fantastic. That's pretty cool. I wanted to ask that because I could tell with your
Mhm.
background and his when you listen to the music, it all comes together. But that's pretty cool how that all came about. And um, so you go from that, you get the new the first album, The Mask. That was the first one, and then you talking about you evolved through the records with when you got on with Frontiers, the Frontiers label, Frontiers Records, and now
Mhm.
you're here with the new one, Prophecy. This is on Napalm Records, new label, uh, a label that we like a lot. They have a lot of great bands,
Yeah.
and like you're saying, you with Dave, you got to this point. I could hear the A strings with the other guitar player because the sound is really loud and it's punchy and it's got a lot of catchy stuff. And your voice is always awesome. That's another thing that we're going to talk about because your vocals are incredible.
Thank
Your range. So it's come together quite nicely, I would say.
thank you. I,
I've been listening to the new one for a while, like since I got the promo last week. And the Death Note is I cannot get that song out of my head. I keep on hearing the chorus of that song. It's really catchy. Like 80% of the record's got some really, really awesome songs that you just keep on hearing them in your head. So we're going to get into more of that in a minute, but I think it's interesting that, for bands that started out years ago, and then you kind of see the progression of how they started and where they're at now. I was happy for you guys when you got on with Frontiers because, they had a lot more clients. Even though they're considered indie to some extent, they had pretty big clients. They still do on their label. And now you're on with a pretty big label as well with Napalm and some really killer metal and rock and metal bands. And that's going to be great, I think, for exposure wise. And you toured all over the place. That's the thing. You've been touring for years on top of
Mhm.
that. So people know the band and your vocals and the way you guys sound. That's what I want to get into is your sound because it's a mix of a lot of different things, right? You have the classical part, you play the keys, the piano, Dave, and it's more metal, the other guitar player, but you have this industrial vibe to some of the music that makes it unique. It's different than some of the music that's out there that's just straight metal or that falls into these different subgenres of metal. Talk about that. Like, did Dave bring some of the industrial stuff, or did you guys just get together one day and just kind of, naturally decided you wanted to? This is how you sounded like.
Well, I think I started bringing that in because well, a lot of the songs I started creating on the keyboard, and then I started to really grow into liking industrial because when I was listening to Dio, and then I started exploring more bands. I really like Nine Inch Nails, um, Ramstein, and then also because I play the keyboard, there's so many cool things you can do now. So I love to explore different sounds and make my own sounds. And like I have the Moog. I like to play around with that a lot because a lot of like the analog um, keyboards, you can create something that's very unique. Um, but so, yeah, I think I just started putting a lot more kind of industrial elements and also cinematic elements. And that started shifting the sound from just being rock or metal. Because, like, for example, Mask, when I met Dave, he already had all those songs written with Robin McCauley. So that was just kind of a way for me to learn how to sing in a way because I never sang this style of music before, and now looking back, like I'm a completely different singer now. So with Mask and Immortal Waltz, it was more like rock records, I would say. And then with Universe, I started to really explore different elements of sound and putting that into our music. But yeah, I think the more direction we go, I like to add more electronic elements too, but not go overboard because for us, I still want it to be, um, you know, really based in the instruments and the playing, the actual playing. And sometimes like some of my friends ask, oh, you can, how do you like, you must sit for days and months just like going through all of the sounds. But actually, I don't. I kind of I have in my head what I want it to sound like, and then I you know, go with whatever I find and kind of manipulate it to go with what I played or what Dave played, because that's the main thing, is to what we're playing and the melody and what I'm singing. So that's still
Gotcha.
the part. Yeah.
When did you, so your vocals, I mean, at what age did you say? I mean, obviously you could play the piano, and I mean, we were talking about accomplished piano player, but when did you always know that you could sing, or is this your voice just kind of developed into that over the years, or?
No, actually, when I was in high school, I did some musical theater. I mean, so I went to music school in Moscow, and there, like when you go to an actual music school, so I did piano, but we had to take theory, we had to take choir, so you have to do everything that has to do with music. But then when we moved to the US and I went to high school, I went to a performing arts high school, but that was mainly for theater. And then I wanted to be in musical theater, and I was for a little bit, but then they kicked me out. They said, "You're better
No.
being dramatic."
Too much, huh?
Yeah. So, because I was on the shyer side, so
Hmm.
there were kids that were much more like exuberant, I would say, and I never really had a teacher that could like get it out of me, or maybe hear something that, oh, she has that potential.
Hmm.
So I never really sang before. I had to teach myself in a way. I mean, of course, I can carry a tune. It comes from, playing and being in music. But being a singer, I have a mindset of I have no limits. Whatever I hear, the song needs to have. I got to figure out how to sing that. So
Right.
that mindset to just like, okay, I got to do what I hear, no matter what. My voice just has to figure it out. So I think that helped me evolve as a singer.
Well, I mean, I get this, and I was gonna bring this up. I've never done this before, and interviews that we've done and things like that. But the magazine's been around forever. So, the years ago, I think it was like 2013 or 2014. We got an email from, we get random like contributors that want to send in reviews and stuff of shows, and just fans. And I got an email of a guy, I think it was in Maryland at some festival. I have to look it up. Excuse me, this is a long time ago, so I'm trying to remember this, but he was very impressed by your band. This was like right at the beginning when you started out. So he sent us a review of the show of this festival we played, and he was like in awe of your vocals. He's like, "Oh my God. Like this is like one of the most incredible front women that I've heard in metal, period."
Wow.
He was completely in awe. He sent in this whole detailed review about it. And and there's a lot of fans that feel that way about your vocals. It's not, and that's not the only great thing about the band. I mean, obviously, it takes a whole band. Dave's is a great guitar player. The drummer you got now is great, but the vocals are one of the first things I always hear with your music. It's this deep penetrating in your voice. It's natural. And there's not a lot of vocalists that can hit those notes. I mean, that's hard, to do that. So that's one of the big things with your band, but it's not everything. It's, like you discussed the concepts and the lyrics behind a lot of the stuff deals with sci-fi things, themes, and all the stuff. And you have the novel stuff or the stuff that you write. So that's another part of this that ties in together with the music, which is really cool. So I want to kind of talk about that. How does this book or novel that you've been working on, how does that tie in from the previous records to this one? Because I'm assuming it deals with some of the same things, right? The same plots or ideas, themes, right?
Yeah. So I think it started with Universe when I started to create these settings for the songs. They are kind of these otherworldly, futuristic settings, but the songs are still very based in the core human emotions and experiences. But I started to kind of paint these pictures and, what it would be like to maybe a merger human mind and artificial intelligence. And at the time, nobody was really talking about it. It's so interesting to see now. It's like
Hmm.
consumed our society because it's such a
Right.
booming part of what's to come, I guess. So then with the unknown. that was kind of a big introduction to that because we had the song Digital Paradise, and that kind of painted a picture of, what if it's our paradise to kind of live forever through a digital reality, or, through this cyber existence. But I left it open-ended for the listener to decide whether, it's something positive or negative, or something even to consider, that consciousness could exist through like this digital space. Then with Hologram, it's when the graphic novel kind of took the story further. But with Hologram, it's kind of the idea that we have this holographic technology where we could travel anywhere in the universe through a holographic reality. Our human bodies would be somewhere on Earth, and our consciousness could travel anywhere, and experience all of these realities that a human body would never survive. But then I started painting a picture of all of how it could go wrong, all of the implications that could go with technology like that, and that's where the graphic novel comes in. It all of us, as characters, we all have our own characters, and we kind of go on this mission to kind of solve the problem that arose with holographic technology. And then we end up on this planet which actually exists. I based Hologram, the song, on this planet, Reign of Terror. It's one of the most volatile planets in the universe. And in the story, I kind of mirror what's happening to our civilization. So over there, it was the most advanced civilization where they merged with AI and everything that went wrong. So it kind of mirrors what's going on with humanity now, but in the future, basically takes it a lot of steps further. But now, with prophecy, so with Hologram, I never really took a stance on how I feel. I just kind of painted all of these potential realities. And with prophecy, I kind of really took a stance with what I believe, and kind of really taking a stance saying that human consciousness is what makes up the fabric of the universe, and AI is like this force that is based on this core need to multiply and overtake and overpower. So it's kind of that ultimate standoff between consciousness and artificial intelligence, and asking questions like, who's really in control if we are to merge? But ultimately, stressing the importance of really recognizing that being a human is a superpower in a way, because we can create something out of nothing, and AI creates something out of what's already there. So, because I think these days it's kind of, with the rise of artificial technology, intelligence taking over a lot of creative fields as well, it can maybe be somewhat discouraging for artists to create. So I think that's the real danger, is to be discouraged and not expanding our mind because we're relying maybe too much on technology, or being afraid that it's going to take over everything. So
Well, I mean, those are all great points. And this is one of the things that I want to emphasize on people that check out your band and your record is, you have this whole concept of things that you were, deeply into that stuff even before this became a thing now with AI, right? This was, some years ago, you seemed like you were ahead of the curve with some of the stuff, but I mean, it's happening now, right? I mean, I mean, we depend on technology for everything. It's incredibly entertaining, and I like the fact that you're putting this into your music because it paints a different picture when you're listening to the songs, and you explain that to the the fans that are just discovering the band or that follow your work from before. It just adds some more substance to the music, and it kind of takes you away from some of the stuff that our troubles, our daily troubles and things that we all deal with as
yeah.
humans. The other thing I was going to say, what kind of stuff were you into to get influenced by stuff like this? Like, did you read a lot of sci-fi and stuff growing up as a child?
Well, my dad is a scientist, so I always had that mind to I always had an inquisitive mind, I would say, and I would always ask questions. Um, if someone told me, this is how it is, I would always be like, well, what if maybe it was like this? Uh, so, and I was always interested in technology. I was always very interested in human mind, in genetics and astronomy. I always seeked to find what's beyond this reality. I don't know why. I always, since very, very early age, as long as I can remember, I think I was like 3 years old. I remember we had me and my mom took me everywhere. I was with my parents everywhere. If went somewhere, I would always go and just see a lot of things. So I think I have to credit a lot to my parents because they exposed me to a lot. So I had a reason to ask questions maybe as well. But also like um, I grew up on a lot of Russian literature, and a lot of that was very deep from I don't know, like 4 years old. Like one of the earliest novels my mom read to me is like a sci-fi novel about the cellar of air, and it was actually kind of based in artificial because there's like this human head, or not a human head. It was like something that was kind of governing everything. So you can kind of uh, make it relevant to artificial intelligence of how that novel is based. So anyway, I was maybe exposed to a lot of this early age, so my interest kind of developed. But yeah, I mean, I love sci-fi. I love all the movies like Interstellar,
Of
Star,
course.
Star
Classic.
Blade Runner.
Yeah,
So
a classic. I was gonna say, I don't know if you play it. I'm not a big gamer, me personally, but I don't have the time, with two kids and, with a day job and all this other stuff we do with the magazine. I don't have the time to play games like some people do. But last year I got a PS5, a PlayStation. I don't usually play console games, just don't have the time. But I've been playing this game, Cyberpunk 2077. I don't know if you've heard of this video game or not, but it deals with a lot of those same themes. Artificial intelligence, and it goes way deep into this whole immersive world that it's kind of scary if you think about it. I mean, some of the topics that we're just talking about that are happening now. It's when does technology replace the humans? When does it replace us? And you deal with all these different things that it's hard-hitting questions because it's reality that we're dealing with. And 40 years ago, we weren't talking about this the way we are now, right? So
yeah, yeah. Well, there were some like Ray Kurzweil. Actually, the guy that is behind, the Kurzweil keyboards, he had that book, Rise of um, the Rise of the Machine. Yeah, and he like I don't know if it's exactly that title, but it's a really great book, and he breaks it down year by year. Okay, in 2022, AI is gonna do this, and he kind of was ahead of his curve, predicting a lot of this stuff. So, and of course, there's so many books and movies, but now we're kind of living that sci-fi, um, science fiction.
yeah. Yeah, I've been fascinated too with some of those concepts for a while. I don't know if I've gotten that deep into some of the stuff, but I've always been a sci-fi fan. So when I see it and hear it in the music, and whether it's metal or it doesn't have to be metal or rock. I mean, it could be whatever genre. I think it's interesting because it makes you think about stuff. What if, like you were saying, what if this could happen? Could it happen? Is it happening? You never know. I mean, we're getting to that point where when do we distinct this from reality? What is reality anymore? I don't know. I guess that's a good question to pose to people that are into that stuff. But I
Yeah.
wanted to get into that because fans they'll ask the question when they listen to the lyrics and they're like, okay, well, this it's not just about what you're listening to. You need to understand and kind of frame where it's coming from. And that's the one of the creators of the band is it helps the listener understand that when they're listening to the song. So that's cool. Thanks for explaining that. So let's get into the new record, the Prophecy. So I had no expectations whatsoever because first we get so many promos, it's ridiculous. We don't have time sometimes to listen to stuff, even with the amount of people that do stuff. But our friends at the label, Napalm, they're great people. and they were asking about the new one, and I said, yeah, I want to hear it, to see what it sounds like. Now with Napalm, I know they're known to work with great artists and all that stuff, and like I said, as soon as I put the promo on, I'm listening to the first song. I was like, wow, Death Note, that's a great song. That is an awesome song. I don't know how it all came together. Like I know you're talking about the A-string guitars and all that stuff, and you can hear that in the music, but everything just clicks on that song for me. I think it's got a great chorus, but it's punchy. I mean, it hits you in the face as soon as you listen to it. You could hear your keys in the background. The drums are tight. I was very impressed by that song, and then I was like, oh, we'll listen to the rest of the stuff, and then you're listening to Prophecy Unbound, another great song. The same kind of deal, right? It's punchy. It's got a nice groove to it. Uh, and you can go on and on the whole track list of the new record. Rogue, Aim for the Kill, that's another killer song. Great job with that song. Kind of get into some of those songs and how did you decide, hey, this is what's going to go on the album? Did you and Dave just kind of figure out and say, hey, yeah, let's go with these, or did the label have any input in some of that, or?
Um, well, no, but we've never been the kind of a band that writes a bunch of songs and then picks whatever goes on the album. Every idea I have, or like I have an idea, and then if I feel like it's worth going into, like, it's gonna become a song no matter what. And it's gonna, we're gonna make it into something that we're proud of. So, um, well, so Rogue and Martyr, we wrote those songs before we signed with Napalm. Those were kind of the songs that got us with Napalm because we were in that transition period, and it was a tough transition period for us. So Rogue was kind of embodied that energy, like, we're going rogue and we either give up or we're going crazy. So
Well, it's worked. I mean, it worked, obviously. I mean, I'll tell you it works because I mean, when I'm listening to songs, in the metal genre or whatever, rock, it doesn't matter. I mean, whatever. To me, I like melody, me personally. I mean, that's the first thing that catches my ear. But it's also, you have the combinations of, like you're saying, you add a little more power to the music with the extra guitars and the lyrics are interesting, obviously. Now that you've explained what some of the themes are, it just all comes together, right? And the production is great also on the record, which you do expect with labels like Napalm because people like Jacob Hansen, for instance, they've been around a long time. That's a well-known name in the metal industry, and I know you've worked with them before, but I think everything just comes together,
Mhm.
and like you're saying, I mean, it'll hit you. I think when you listen to a song, at least for me and some of us that review the stuff, as soon as you hear it the first time, okay, you got something there. And that's how I feel about some of these songs and there's other great songs on the record. It's not just that. Some of the other stuff that I like Hear Me. You're gonna have to explain to me about that song because that song is a little different than than some of the other songs on there.
Yeah, so obviously all of these songs are very um, full kind of power, full band heavy songs, and they all kind of deal with the idea of the artificial intelligence and that kind of battle in your mind whether like for example Death Note is kind of that inner battle if you let in artificial intelligence and your consciousness, who's going to be in control, and that kind of having, I don't know if you've seen the music video, but the character kind of the idea is that there's like all of these entities throughout the universe, and there's um, basically a cry for help to um, come join humanity in the fight to kind of prevail against the rise of AI. So Hear Me is kind of the really human aspect of asking questions. Like you have said before, what is reality? And a lot of these other songs, it kind of deals with that, but more in a kind of that sci-fi scale, really big scale of, what if the rise of this? And like Mind Assassin, that song is really playing into the character of artificial intelligence and just more having fun with it. But Hear Me is that really human way of asking, what is our purpose? What is my purpose? Why am I here? How do I find meaning in life, and how do, happiness, and just very human questions that maybe a lot of us ask ourselves sometimes. So for me, that song is probably the most personal one I've ever made, most vulnerable one, and also kind of saying that it could be scary to express ourselves in this world, and deal with other humans, basically. But that song also kind of happened by chance because we already finished the record, all of the songs, and I was already editing all the files and sending to Jacob, and I was with Mike. All of us were with Mike counting all of the tracks, and we're like, yeah, we have 10 songs, right? And we're all counting to 9. Like, there's no way. We all, maybe this was a glitch in the matrix for us, and we reality, because we were all certain we had 10 songs, and all of a sudden we see 9. So Mike was like, because we were leaving on tour with Symphony X in 3 days, so there's no way to record a full band in those days. For us, all of our songs are so layered and complex, it would be kind of impossible. So Mike was like, just go home and write it, so it's gonna be you and the keyboard, that's it. So I went home and wrote Hear Me and recorded the vocals the next day, and I'm really glad I did, because it kind of brought me back to my roots with just the piano and me. And it's kind of all the songs are very personal to me. I put my heart and soul into every song, but this one is just so exposed. I have nothing to hide behind. It's just me, the lyrics, and the piano. So
Yeah, that's why I bring it up because it's different. And so you had that song for a while though. That song was from before, right? That you wrote
no,
that.
I wrote it in a day.
Oh wow. Well, it works really well in on this record. I mean, it's different, but it
Mm,
kind of, it takes more of, like you're saying, it's a personal song. So I could tell just by, listening to the lyrics and the way that one played out. I really like that song. It's a great song.
thank you.
No problem. The Sad Life of a Rose is another one. I skipped that one, but that's another a great track on the new one.
Thank you.
I mean, the whole record is great. Like I said, I've said before, I'm not blowing smoke. I mean, we listen to a lot of music, and it either works for some bands or it doesn't. I think this is probably your strongest album to date. I mean, every song on here sticks with you. So I hope that everybody checks it out when it comes out. It's
Thank
gonna,
you.
yeah, it's gonna come out March 7th on Napalm. So I would recommend everybody to check it out. And not just that, but um, so we saw you guys on tour last year with Dragon Force, and
Mm,
this was at the Palladium in New York. And we have boys and girls that do photography for us and review shows all over the place in North America and Europe. And one of the guys that does stuff for me up there in New York, he was at that show. He wasn't familiar with your band then, but he became a fan after that night.
uh,
He became a fan. I was like, I'm not sure how you were familiar, but he's a fan of Amaranth and Dragon Force because they've been around a while too. But that was pretty cool that you guys went on tour with them, and this new tour that you're gonna get on here is opening for Delane and Sandra, two other great metal symphonic metal bands that have been around a while.
mhm.
Talk about that, going on the road with them. That's happening here at early March, and what's how you looking forward to that one?
Yeah, yeah, we're coming back to New York with that one as well. Um, so yeah, Delane, one of the bands, actually our first time in Europe was we were playing a festival that Delane headlined. It was back in 2017. That was our European debut. So it was, and then when we were on tour, this last Europe tour, they came to our show and we got to meet them. They're really great people. So yeah, we're really looking forward to that. Zandria is another great band that, when we were starting out, those were the bands that were already, big and touring, and so it's really cool to see bands doing what we're doing, we wanted to do at the time. Very inspiring. So the tour starts in Arizona, March 7th, and goes into Canada. We're hitting a lot of states and in Texas. So yeah, hope people check out the dates, and we would love to see you at the shows. We're playing a lot of the new songs from the record. So I'm
Yes, of
excited.
course. And
Mhm.
we're gonna try to catch you guys. I have one of our guys that he covers stuff in Chicago. We're gonna try to get the Joliet show covered. We'll see if we can get that one out.
Yeah,
That would be cool. I want to get one of your shows. I think you guys are playing in Atlanta, but I'm in Huntsville in Alabama, so I'm way down here in the South. It
yeah,
takes 3 hours to 3.5 hours to drive to Atlanta. Not that it wouldn't be worth it. The Masquerade is a really cool venue. I don't know if you played there before. I'm sure you
yeah.
probably have, but
I think
yeah.
no, we played with, I believe LacunaCoil we played that
Oh
venue.
yeah, 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 that's right. Yeah. They have different sets inside the Masquerade, but
Mhm.
and it's also known for the Prague Power Festival, another great progressive
Oh,
metal festival
yeah.
at Center Stage there they do. So it's a really cool place, but I'm happy for you guys. I'm happy with the new record. I'm happy you're going back on the road so fans can listen to the new songs and the old stuff. Just excited, man. I think this hopefully the album's gonna do great. There's a lot of really great songs on it. Um, I want to be respectful of your time because I know we had to kind of change stuff around today, but I wanted to touch base on you do artwork as well, your art, because I've seen some of it. It's really awesome. And how is that connected with some of the artwork on the records? Are you doing the artwork as well?
Well, so I started doing artwork since Universe, like when we released the special edition. I painted a lot of box sets, and then since then I've been doing an art piece for every song, and just I've been incorporating a lot of art with the band down, throughout the years now, and then the graphic novel. So for this one, I never do the cover art though, because I always want the outside input of another artist to kind of collaborate to add to the vision. So for this one, we had David Rubel. He did the artwork, but I always wanted the band to be multi-dimensional, so I incorporate a lot of the art. Um, and I love to do that. So actually, I'm doing a giveaway. I did one of my biggest canvases I've ever painted. We're doing a giveaway March 6th. We're drawing the names. So that one is a prophecy, basically the canvas for prophecy album. So
Awesome.
yeah, that one's online now. And I've been doing a lot of like figurines, like collectible items. And then, of course, all of the music videos. I start to incorporate, like everything ties in together. So a lot of the characters you see throughout our music videos, now show up in the artwork and in the figurines. So I like to kind of have that immersive world that people can experience.
Yeah, that's cool. I've seen some of the artwork. It's really cool. I think it's great. I mean, had you piecing all these different parts together with the artwork and the writing part of that with with the novel and all that stuff. I think it's super cool. It just it gets fans more immersed in the music, I think. And I think fans will like that. You don't have to be a sci-fi fan to just be interested in some of the lyrics. I think there's to me it's just interesting just saying those questions and it's a lot of stuff has to do with existence and why we're here and with technology. So that's pretty cool and I hope everybody checks out the record. I mean I'm recommending it and I'll write a review on the record before it comes out.
I
The week of release because if we do it before then we get in trouble. But I really enjoyed the record, and I want to thank you for your time,
appreciate
Margarita. Thank you so much, and I wish you guys tons of success on the road and on this new record, and hopefully we can catch up again soon.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me and for listening and for supporting us through the years. It means a lot. Like our band, we started it from nothing basically. So we're here because of support from people like you. So I appreciate you very much.
Yeah, no problem. You're welcome. And that's the thing too that I want to make sure that people understand that I think it makes it even more rewarding for people like us that that cover the scene and stuff to see a band like you're saying start from nothing. Because I remember at very beginning you're out there trying to promote the band and reach out to all the different publications because you want your music out there, but it's also because you appreciate what people like us and other outlets do because it takes time and effort. And at the end of the day, we're all fans. You know, we're fans of the music, right? That's the first thing. It's not about any other ulterior motives for us. We enjoy the music and we try to support it because we believe in it. So it all
Yeah.
works out. Thank you again. I appreciate it, and have a great day.
Thank you so much.
Heavy metal
My
rock.
global mind.